are live in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. This is John Townsend. You're on the Dr. Townsend Live program. And gosh, it's been a while, right? So thanks for showing back up. And I've been a bunch of places. And sometimes when I go to a bunch of places, I can't do this. But actually, I'm at a bunch of places now, and I am doing this. I'm in Dallas, Texas, speaking at the American Association of Christian Counselors Conference. But fortunately, I've got a break, and the hotel room is here. See? Glad to be with everybody. It's just been a while. And just to let you know, if you haven't been here before, welcome. And what we're a call-in show where we talk about issues of life, relationships, personal growth, struggles and the emotions, spiritual issues, leadership issues, business issues, what am I doing in my life issues, basically the human dilemma. And there are lots of those. And we try to give, an answer that makes sense, that goes a little deeper than stop doing that or start doing that, because there's generally roots for these things, and give you something that's practical. And we always love our community, and people have great interest and great questions. And one thing that I really love is how when somebody, because we're on all the venues, Facebook, Twitter, and everybody else. But when we have a call, if somebody has a struggle and it's kind of hard for them, then the community shows up and says, I'm on your side, and I've had the same problem. It's very, very supportive. So all you got to do is get on, and you either just talk to our producer, Stacy. Hey, Stacy.
Hey, everybody. Hey, John. Thanks for being here today. And I'll just pick up where he left off. So you just call into the show today. If you have a question for Dr. Townsend, you're going to dial 1-877-853-5257. Again, that number is 1-877-853-5257. And you'll use meeting ID number 876-5437-2012. Again, 876-5437-2012. You'll enter that code to get into the waiting room. And then once your call is selected, I will connect you to John, and you can ask your question. And John likes to know your first name only and where you are calling him from.
I do. Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah, you bet.
She makes all the hamsters run in this little machine. And text if you can't call live, and we'll answer it. But it's just not as personal. But we'll certainly take a text, and every now and then somebody will text something, and we'll think that's a good one for that. But we love to have the conversation. It's about the conversation with me, and you won't be showing your face. Don't worry about whether your hair is a mess or not. But you have your voice, and I'll have my voice and all that. So we're ready to get started, and I guess somebody's up. And
that is correct. Caller, you are live with Dr. Townsend. Tell us your first name and where you're calling from.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'm calling from Southern California.
Is it Nikki or Nicole?
Nicole.
Hello, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What's your question today?
Okay, so I've been working with a family as a nanny for a little over a year now. And I don't know how to establish boundaries with my boss. So
Your
I've
boss
let
being
myself...
the mom or the dad?
Yeah, the mom.
The mom, okay.
So I just never speak up about things, and I let myself be taken advantage of, like working extra hours. Yeah, it's just, there's been a lot of issues with it, but I've stayed because I don't want to leave the little girl.
Okay. You're very attached to her in some way. You really care about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and she has attachment issues of her own, so.
Which direction does she have attachment issues? Some people have attachment issues of they get too attached sometimes and they can't be separate. Some people have attachment issues and they can't connect at all. Which side is she on, Nicole? Just curious.
Hi.
I'm sorry?
I would say like disorganized.
Oh, are you how did you know something? Are you in the field? Are you a therapist?
No.
How did you know the phrase disorganized attachment? That's a fairly sophisticated term.
Just by like researching.
Okay. Nicole, I feel bad like you're having to do something else while you're with us. Are you like, playing checkers with the kid while you're trying to help yourself on this deal? There's a lot of stuff around you, noise-wise.
Yeah, I know. I feel kind of pressed for time, but
what exactly is going
I'm
on
always
around
trying
you
to
right
get.
now?
I'm working right now. I'm always trying to get on the phone, but I end up getting on too late.
All right. So is the child like with you, hanging out, playing checkers or marbles with you or something, or?
Yeah, she's just playing with toys. So I guess I can just ask a question quickly.
Well, I need the question asked, and I do need, and I don't want, how old is the child? Is she like 3 or 4?
She's 2.5.
Okay. I don't like it when somebody's talking about somebody like she can understand things about her parents. And so we don't want her to hear that. And there's no way that you can be away from her to ask me to tell me something about her parents, right? Because that's what I would, we'll do it without that. I would prefer that if you can. I just don't want her to hear something that might upset her.
Oh yeah, she's in her own world right now.
Well, Nicole, yes and no. In her own world can mean she's 3 feet away and not looking at you, but they hear things and she cares about you. And if you say something about that, I would feel awful about she picks up something that's upsetting her. I kind of don't trust her own world thing. Trust her body. If her body was another room with the door closed, that's different. But you're saying you can't do that. I'm not being anal retentive here. I'm being more concerned about the girl.
No, I understand.
You can't get in another room because you're on call with her now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For another like 10 minutes.
And then you're not in the same room with her after that?
Right, I'll be going home.
All right. But let's do this. Let me kind of help as much as I can now, because if you get out, who knows if you get back in line and for the show's going to be over. I don't want that to happen. I want to help you too. So let me answer the question in principle form and give you something to think about. All righty?
Okay.
Okay. Generally speaking, when we have difficulty setting boundaries, which means establishing a limit with someone, especially in the work relationships where somebody's in a more of a power position and they can say, can you work extra or whatever? And we have difficulty saying, no, that doesn't work for me or whatever. It speaks to several causes, and I'm just going to give you the causes and tell you a few things to do. One cause is I'll be fired, and that's a bad thing. And so if that's it, and if she gives you indication that if you say no, I'm going to fire you, then it's time to sit down with her and have a conversation about probably this didn't happen. You probably didn't have the conversation. My guess is, we can't say it because the child's in the room, is that probably you didn't have the conversation where your role and the limitations, the boundaries of your time are out there, which I'll be here from 2 to 8 and no more than that. And then anything extra, I've got a choice to do whatever I want to, or you can pay me extra. Most times people, because nanny is kind of a more relational, loving thing, they don't think about that. So it might be time to sit down with her next time that there's a space and say, I want to be really good with your daughter and I care about you guys, but I need to have a little more clarity on what my time off is and all that. That's one, is the fear of the work thing. Another one is the fear that somebody will just explode, get mad, and escalate. And that's when you have to have the skill of telling somebody, I want to solve this with you and I don't want to upset you because you're my boss and I love your child and I don't want to upset you, but this won't go away. So if we can't solve it, can we bring somebody else in? And sometimes if you can't calm them down, you bring somebody else in, like a friend, a mediator, a pastor, or whatever. The third thing, though, is if you have a history, we don't know each other, Nicole, but if you have a history of having a hard time saying no, like from childhood, it was sort of like people took advantage of you and you know, kind of controlled you sometimes. It'd be important to practice with role playing the conversations of saying no with people that are safe for you. It's like developing a little muscle. Like, you know, my rotator cuff goes out sometimes. I have to work it to stay healthy and strong and all that. And there's a little conversational boundaries muscle that may help you with. So I hope that helps, Nicole. And if there's another time where the girl's not there, we can talk a little more intimately on that. Okay. So thank you for your call.
Thank you.
All right, Nicole.
Bye.
Yeah. You know, there's a thing in the business world when I work with, you know, executives and board of directors, people and owners and this sort of thing. There's a thing called managing upwards. And when you manage, most of the time you're managing downwards. You're managing your directs and you're telling them, here's the issues, and here I want to resource you. I want to make sure you feel challenged and you know, comfortable, and you're playing your strengths. That's managing downwards. And most of the literature, management and leadership is about that. Managing upwards means when you are on the org chart and somebody's ahead of you, and they're your boss, like the mom is Nicole's boss. It's a whole different way because you don't have the authority in the cascading org chart that you would have if it's this. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
a whole different ball game. And so what you have to do, and I have a whole training on this at the Institute, where you have to basically do a couple of things. One is you got to show respect and tell them, convey this to them. I want to make your job better. I want to make your job easier. They have pressure on them. They have all kinds of time and money and quota issues and KPI issues on their shoulder. Come and say, I'm a team player and I care about you and the mission. I want to help. And then they stop thinking you're just a kind of a complainer. And the second thing, though, is to be clear of what is okay and what's not okay. And there are other rules like that, but that's some things to do. It's just a thing to remember when you're checking with someone on a managing upwards level.
That's correct. That's good advice, John. And good work too. I agree also that it's difficult when there is a child in the room. You can't say certain things and have them, like you said, she's there, and she's busy, but she can hear.
I think, yeah. When we say, well, they're in another world, they may look like they're in another world, but 2.5-year-olds can understand things we don't think they do. And who wants to upset a kid with stuff like that? You know, sometimes in the program, somebody will be in the room and a child will be there. And I always have to say, I can't talk about that now until the child's out. And those are boundaries too, but they're boundaries that preserve things.
Absolutely.
You know, I've got a good friend named Fred, for example. And my friend Fred has great boundaries and he's very clear. He founded a whole institution. Fred just kind of changed the world with that. And so when you do what Fred did, which is you founded it, but then you said, here's what I'm going to do as the founder, here's what I'm not going to do, and here's the roles and responsibilities of my organization. The thing runs more like an engine. Boundaries aren't mean. They're not like a moat. People used to say when Henry Cloud and I wrote the first boundaries book, oh, I tried love and I realized that's not it. It's boundaries. Well, we went, no, it's not a zero-sum game. It's a win-win. More love, more boundaries, more love. Don't ever think, oh, I got to be an OCD jerk now because love didn't work. No, it does work. In fact, good boundaries means love gets better.
Exactly. Anyway. And with that, I believe you have a caller on the line. Caller, you are live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead and tell us your first name and where you're calling us from.
Hi, Dr. Townsend. My name is Elise, and I'm calling from Williams, Arizona.
Hello, Elise. Nice to meet you.
Hi, you too. I just have a question. I just downloaded the book, Loving People, that you wrote, How to Love and Be Loved.
Right.
And I was looking through it, and I'm just wondering, I was thinking in a dating relationship, I know that love happens on different schedules for different people, but if you're in a relationship, like an adult loving relationship for a few months, do you think you should know by that point if you love somebody?
Not necessarily. When you look at sort of all the attachment research, is it Elise or Elisa?
Elise.
Elise. All the research about human relationships and all that. And and how one knows when they're in love with somebody is never a one variable thing. So a lot of people say, I should know in 6 months. Well, no, it's because it's more, there's a time variable. What you're asking about is there a time variable that I should know one way or the other? No,
Right.
because, for example, you can say, yeah, we dated for 6 months and we never got beyond baseball, or we never got beyond, do you like this restaurant? Well, then you could beat them with them 6 years and you wouldn't know. So you have to look at time. That's one, but time is necessary. And somebody tells me, oh, I met him and that day I knew they were the one. I go, you're just lucky. That's more, that's just, there has to be time. Then let me just kind of give you the other main ones. And this is how you make your decision. The second one is values. You got to check out the core values, and not every core value, but mainly the core values got to be pretty similar, because that's the fundamental parts of life and faith and what's important to you. The next thing is, how do you, is there vulnerability and trust between you? So does he open up? Do you open up? Can you take risks? Are they safe with each other? The next thing is their honesty. So he can say, Elise, you got a booger in your nose. And you go, thank you for telling me, Sam, because nobody else would tell me that. I don't want to walk around with a booger. I mean, you can be honest with each other too. So there's those aspects. And the other one is, are both people committed to growth, or is one dragging the other one to growth? Like, I want you to read this book. Well, I'm busy. I want you to go to this conference. Well, I got other things to do. Or both people kind of into growth. That's a big deal. The other thing, I'm not going to overwhelm you with a list. I'm just going to give you the basics. The other thing is mutuality, where you don't agree on things, but one's not kind of the dominant one in the power, but you both give each other power. And the other one is your friends, and your great, sane, cool friends that, are good people. Are they like, oh my gosh, that's great, we love them? Or are they like, okay, but keep trying, because there may be something you're concerned about? The other thing is there hijacking involved? Did you leave all your friends and hang out with his? Did he leave all his friends and hang out with you? So yes, if you told me, Elise, check on all those things, and it was 6 months, I'd say, yeah, if you're not feeling in love on there, I doubt that you will be. But don't ever get stuck with the variable.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Okay, thank you.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
thanks a lot.
Before you go, I'll go on a little thing here. Having kind of gone through my little checklist, are you feeling hopeful about the guy now, or kind of like, gosh, it should have happened by now? Which way are you feeling?
No, I'm feeling hopeful. We're both rather deep people in our conversations, so we've shared a lot from the beginning, and we knew each other as friends for a long time. So we know each other pretty well, and we share our faith. We met through church and stuff, and we share a lot of core values and had similar childhoods even. But
are you concerned that you don't have that feeling that we like to have?
Well, actually, I think I feel it, but I'm afraid he doesn't feel it.
Oh, have y'all had that conversation?
Not yet. I'm not sure how to have it without risking rejection.
Why would that be? I mean, but if he's not that into you, don't you want to know?
I do, but I'm scared.
Okay, I'm sorry. That takes a whole turn, Elise. You really care about the guy. What do you talk about the fear a bit?
I think it's always been a fear in my life, just of not being loved back, not being good enough, maybe.
Okay.
It's a personal issue that has very little to do with him.
Right. And generally speaking, that feeling comes in childhood, when we learn that we've got to be a certain way, or people pull away, or people just did leave, and it creates that sort of fear and insecurity. And then it gets translated into the romantic sphere. Yes.
My mom has borderline personality disorder, and I was, her caretaker. So there's a lot of stuff that happened from that.
Yeah, she connects, and then she's not there, and there's an inconsistent. The polarization is just awful for a child, especially if you got caretaking roles.
Mm-hmm.
Have you worked on that?
Yeah, I've been in therapy for about 20 years, working on everything.
All right. Look, can I give you a little homework assignment?
Absolutely.
In your position, since I mean you're a thoughtful person, you're getting good long therapy and you're doing a lot of right things here, but you don't want to. I mean, 6 months is enough time to say to him, if you've had all these experiences, to have that conversation. I think
Yeah,
you could.
it's been three.
Waited.
It's been 3 right now.
Oh, month 3.
Yeah.
I'd wait. I'd wait till month 6.
Okay. And then how would that conversation go? Like, how would you recommend starting that?
Well, let me tell you what to do before you do that, because if I tell you what to do and you haven't worked out the panic, you won't do it. You'll just sabotage yourself.
Yeah.
So, I want you to work with your therapist. I mean, it's between you guys. I'm coming from the outside, so take it with a grain of salt, on being able to be secure enough internally and with the other safe people in your life, like your therapist, like your really good friends, your safe people, your life team, that if the guy bailed and said, I don't want this, you'd be sad, but not devastated. Sad is one thing. We got to be sad when people reject us, because otherwise we don't have feelings. Devastated is different. So work with that on being able to, what I call, tolerate the negative outcome. That if he said, Elise, you're a lot further along than I am, I just don't know where I can get there. I care about you so much, but not that way, that you would say, got it. Thanks a lot. It's been great. And you have some grieving to do with your therapist and your friends, but it would not be devastated. So work on that. You've got 3 months for that.
Okay. Is that my homework?
Yeah, that's the big homework. I mean, no, that's the homework. Okay. But let's suppose it's 3 months in advance. You've done all that, and you know that if he said no, you'd be sad but not devastated. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now let's have the conversation. And you'll be him, and I'll call you Joshua.
Okay.
Hi. I mean, now this isn't like an event of a bunch of people watching, a Tom Cruise movie. This is a very dedicated time where you got a quiet time, maybe at a dinner or a coffee or something, right? So it's private, right? And so I say, I'm the healthy, skillful Elise, and I say, hey, and you say whatever. You're Joshua.
Hi.
Hi. I hope things are going for you. I know you're busy and you're working all of me too, but I do have something I want to bring up.
Okay.
And I got to admit, Josh, I'm a tad nervous, so bear with me. I'm feeling really kind of raw and vulnerable. Is that okay to do that?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay. The last 6 months have been great. I love our friendship. I love how, gosh, there's so many commonalities, and I think we're both interesting to each other, and spiritual values, fun values, vocation values. It's just everything. And I care about you, and our friends get along. And I feel like I'm getting, oh, by the way, are you guys dating exclusively? T.O.
Yes.
Okay. So it is a dating relationship. It's not a friendship relationship that's getting to dating. It is dating. I mean, you're like kissy face. And all that, right?
Yeah, we've been exclusive for a little over 3 months. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you're exclusive and you're also making out, right?
Yeah, we're kissing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because one would be weird. Okay. And I've enjoyed our dating relationship. I got to tell you something. I think I'm falling in love with you.
Oh, wow. That's, wow. Thank you. That's great to hear.
Well, it's true. You're a great guy. I have all these feelings for you. And I like it that we're exclusive, but I think I'm in love. And I guess I want to know if it's reciprocated, Josh. And you're not a bad guy if it's not. I can only go so far with these kind of feelings. So tell me where you are.
I think you're great. I guess I'm just not really sure yet. I don't really know. I don't know what to say.
Okay. Thank you for being honest. I'm glad you didn't sort of fake that, and that's fine. How do you feel about continuing for a while with this sort of imbalance? I mean, I can do it a bit If you had said, no, there's no way, I just want to date you forever, I never want to be in love with you, there'd be no harm, no foul, I'm out. But you did say you don't know. And so my question, Josh, is, do you think it's in the possible to probable range that you might be? Or is it kind of like, no, I really know enough by now that it just won't work? What do you think?
I think that I wouldn't still be here with you if I didn't think it was possible. I just need more time to figure it out.
Fair enough. Any idea what that means? I've got a friend, Josh, that they've been trying to figure out for 7 years now. I kind of don't want to be them. So can you give me some
yeah.
sort of... All right, let's make it. I'm gonna sweeten the pot for you here. Get out for a second. Still, stay vague, because I know what I'm going to try to help you there. Suppose because I don't know, and I don't know when I'll know. Okay, ready? All right. So anyway, how long do you think it might be, Josh, before you know yes, yay or no, if you're in love with me?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. I'd like to keep dating you for some time. Are you okay?
Sure.
Okay. There's a couple things we can do. One is we can just go like we're going and talk about it. And then I'll probably have some built-in time clock, Josh, that says it's just hurting too much. And you're not a bad guy, but it's tearing me up. And it'd probably be, if we don't do anything but what we're doing now with, our friends and what we do in our dating relationship, I could probably go another 2 or 3 months, but no longer. Or we can go see a couples counselor, not a marriage counselor, because we're not that, but a couples counselor to talk about the dynamics in our relationship. And actually, if you think that was warranted, that'd be my first choice. See somebody for 8 or 9 sessions and kind of go, okay, now we see the whys. And it might be that I'm doing something that you weren't aware of that turns you off, or maybe you would never want to have it, but somebody that would be a pro. Would you be open to something like that?
I think so. I mean, that sounds like an interesting idea to explore.
All right. Well, think about it. I'm not sure either, but I just know if it goes on like this with no change, I care about you, and it just wouldn't be okay for me otherwise. So think about it. We'll talk about it some more.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Elise, how was that for you?
Oh, wow. You did a good job. Thank you. And that sounds good. I like the idea of the counseling. We both go to counseling. You go to counseling too. So I don't think he'd be opposed to that. I just didn't know if it was too soon or if it would be too soon in a few months.
I know. I had the kind of same thing with like, well, at 6 months, it's not like a year, but if you really think he's, in terms of you've already been exclusive, and if he's the guy for you, I wouldn't kind of do what you're doing another 6 months. I would say after a while, if he's still ambivalent, somewhere in that 6 to 12 range, I would say I got to do something here.
Right.
It would just be too tearing up your insides. So that's where I'd go with Elise.
I feel like it kind of already is tearing me up a bit. It's only been 3 months, but I need to be patient, I guess.
Oh, that's a whole different phone call, because if it feels like that, that probably has to do with your mother.
Right.
What?
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I thought a cat went, ow.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
Maybe it was me. My point was, people that come from a really pathological mom like that, they're not there, the polarizations and the up and down stuff. A lot of times when they find somebody that's what's called a constant object, and the constant object is there and he's responsible and he's reliable and warm, all their hopes, you sound like you got a great therapist, but it still leaks out in their main relationship. The hopes go on there too. And you want to work that out, because you should not be feeling the tear up at 3 months. So make sure that's your second assignment, to get that worked out with your therapist, because that's something you don't want the mom stuff to contaminate the stuff with this cool guy. All right.
You're right. It is. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise. Good to talk to you.
You too.
Aren't relationships complicated? But I love how Elise is handling her relationship and all that. And by the way, if you like relationships and you want a career, come to the Townsend Institute, because we teach everything under the umbrella of relationships. We are a fully accredited grad school at Concordia University in Irvine, California. And we have three programs, three different programs of grad school. If this is your time for a career that you want to be in relationships somehow, there's counseling, which is highly relational, right? You can get a certificate. You can get a master's. You can get your doctorate now. You can get a PhD with us. Second one is an organizational leadership, where you can get a certificate or a master's in OL, and it's a highly relational master's. Like, how do you inspire people? How do you find their lanes? How do you motivate them? How do you get performance? How do you help them engage? How do you give them structure? So it's a very, very relational master's if you like to lead. The other one is executive coaching and consulting, because that's kind of the big, fast-growing industry of like, oh, I can really develop people and I can be a force for them. I don't have to be a therapist and get all the licensure. It's not therapy, it's coaching, but we can give you a credential or a master's in coaching. And so if you like that approach, it's the kind of same thing that I do when I teach on this show and all my books. Sign up with us now. Our next, we just had, I don't know, several hundred students come in a few weeks ago for the fall. And then in January, February, I think it is, we'll have our next cohort of students come in for the winter semester. Come on in. So get online, townsendinstitute.com, and find out when our next info session is. The next step, if you like the idea of another career, a next career that's kind of got all the bells and whistles, the next step would be look for our information session. And I don't know when it is, but I know every few weeks I'll get online with all of our great faculty and our staff, all our smart PhDs, and we'll present the program to anybody that signs up. It's all Zoom. We'll have many, many people around the world saying, I'm interested, and we'll talk to you and answer all your questions. So if this is something you like, check out the website, get on the info session, and info session is where we really get to talk to you. And there's many, many people with you at the same time. So hope that helps. Okay, Stacey, it looks like somebody wants to talk.
Absolutely. Caller, you are live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead with your first name and tell us where you're calling from.
Hi,
Caller?
my name is Diane.
She's with us. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Diane. I'm calling from New Jersey.
Hi, Diane.
Hi. My question, I was just reading something on your Facebook page about dealing with a spouse who lashes out in anger. And it's exactly what my question is. What do I do when it's a pattern? Because you spoke about patterns.
Did my email have, sometimes my emails like have the answer, like here's the three things to do. And sometimes emails are more kind of like they're more like a diagnostic, like here's how you can know. And how you can know is a diagnosis, and what to do is more of a prescription. Do you know which one I did?
Well, you did give the, if it's mild, moderate, or severe.
Right.
And I consider mine between moderate and severe.
Okay. By the way, Stacey just told me you saw it on the Loveology.
Yes, that's where I saw it. I just saw
I've got
it.
good friend, Les Parrott. He created that. He and I talked a couple of days ago, and he's got everybody in the world who knows about relationships on there. And I'm glad you're checking out. Les Parrott's Loveology is awesome.
I actually saw it while I was waiting for you. I was looking at my phone, and there it was, and that's what I'm calling about.
All right. So in your mind, Diane, it's Diane or Diana?
Diane with an E at the end. Okay,
it's severe. And so tell me about severe. And by the way, I'm sorry because severe is really, really hard. So,
thank you very much. It's hard to deal with because it's a pattern, and it is like two different people. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That's what I call it. And there's no physical violence or anything like that, but I would definitely call it emotional abuse and neglect. And it's the pattern is confusing because it'll happen, and then he'll have like after it happens, after the big lash out happens, and he won't have any remorse, and he'll act like it didn't happen and maybe sort of avoid me for days. And then when he finally comes around, he won't talk about it, and he'll just start to do really nice things where I guess he thinks he's making up for it.
Yeah,
But
it's what
you
it's
can't-
what seven it's what 7-year-olds do when they do a bad thing. They make up for it.
Exactly. It's the same thing. It's very immature, and it seems like an adult temper tantrum, but the things that are said are very deep and very hurtful. They're not like just a bad word.
Before we go
It's-
further,
it's-
how are you handling this emotionally? How are you feeling about all of it?
Not good. Actually, to be honest, I'm getting a little bit too used to it, and I don't like that. Where I'm getting used to it, and I have a pattern of what I do to disengage from him and to guard my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, when it was happening, I didn't know how to do that. So I would engage in the conversation, and I would ask him why he's saying it, and it was very unreasonable. And it was very emotionally upsetting for me. So I had some anxiety from it. And I guess I still have it now. I'm a little more detached from it because I'm trying to protect myself.
Yeah, you've learned to shut down.
Kind of, yeah. And I know I still feel the emotion because if I think about it too long, if I ruminate about it and rehearse it in my mind, like when I'm praying, I talk to the Lord about it, I start to feel the sadness.
Right.
But I don't like to stay there,
Yeah.
because I want to be able to function. So it's very, very difficult because there's never a resolution.
All right.
And
Diane, I've got to first sort of affirm that you developed at least a coping mechanism that kept things from escalating with you engaging with a guy who's that abusive. I'm glad in a strange way I'm saying this, I'm glad you learned how to shut down. It's a temporary coping thing you needed, but we've got to help you. We've got to help you in a much, much, much better way. So
yeah, I mean, I used to not do that, and it would I would be very emotionally dysregulated from it because it was extremely frustrating where I could not.
Besides trying to engage and trying to talk rationally to somebody that's not rational, and besides shutting down, what other attempts have you made for this to be better, this situation be better? But I like to know the failed attempts before I give you sort of my spin.
Well, sometimes I write letters to
him?
talk about it. Yeah. To try to explain, what's so hurtful. Because there's other issues involved too. There's other hurtful things, other behaviors that go along with this. But for this question, it was just this. So I basically did that. I involved another person. I tried to do what Matthew 18 said, to go to my brother and reason. I involved another person to see if the other person could reason with him. And that didn't work. I did attempt to go to my church, but they just said, go get a counselor. They didn't want it. And, well, I've been asking for that for a pretty long time.
Saying we need to get help together?
Well, yeah. I mean, that was another question. Like, is it a together thing or is it an individual character?
At this level, this is really getting serious. Okay. And I'm, I do what I do. When you say there's these other things that they're out beyond the scope of this question, but other bad things, I go, is Diane in trouble here? Are you in any kind of trouble with his?
No, not physically. No, not.
Okay. All right.
I feel, not physically at all. No.
All right. Now, and when you got somebody that's that severe, I very, very rarely tell somebody, tell them to go to get a good shrink, because most of them will just kind of, blow smoke up the shrink, and I've got this crazy reactive wife and I'm a okay guy. And it's very hard when you got somebody who never apologizes, never has remorse, does nothing but give you, 3 flowers after they abuse you emotionally. So I always say I need for us to go in together, because when you're in there, then instead of him sort of doing his show to show why he's the sane one and you're crazy, there's another person and you're there. And then the therapist goes, what do you say, Diane? And you go, no, that's not true. And then she sees it's this way instead of, I got this one person and I'm his advocate. So in a good situation, then the person finally realizes, okay, I'm a mess and I'm hurting her really badly. And that's a lot of times in this time, okay, we'll spin you off into good in individual counseling, but not until they're serious about wanting to change so they're nicer to you. So that's the first part. The second part is apparently you're saying he has refused any attempts to get help. Yeah.
Well, not an out and out no. He does. It's never an out and out no, because he does a lot of passive aggressive things where he'll just say, I don't know. Say, I don't know if I want to go. I'm not sure.
How far are you willing to push this?
Well, I'd like it to, I would like this behavior to stop because it's not a healthy way to live.
Yeah, but and we all want lots of stuff. You know, I want to play for NFL. It's not going to happen. So how far? And the reason I'm not trying to set up a bad with you, I'm just saying, if I gave you some consequences, like if we don't go in the next 30 days, I'll be spending a lot more time out with my friends because you're so mean to me. I might get a separate room in the bedroom and I might leave the place.
Okay.
Are you willing to go to that far? Because I kind of.
Well, I already did.
What?
No, that's already implemented, sort of. Last year, because of some of this behavior, including some other stuff, we were separated for 7 months. I asked him to leave and to live with his brother for a while.
Okay, so you've done a hard boundary there. And what was the outcome of the 7 months? Did he repent? Did he have remorse? Did he want to know your inner self?
Well, he came home after the 7 months, and I thought we were sort of at the beginning of him repenting and remorseful. Then he had a really big surgery, so that anything to do with us got put on the back burner.
Sure.
For him to recover from the surgery, and then it never got back. We never got back on the horse again, and then behavior started escalating, going back into old patterns again.
Okay, here's what happened. You had a timeout, but you didn't have the surgery. The timeout.
Yes, exactly.
In other words, people can have a timeout and be separated, but if they don't have somebody banging at their head and a good therapist, counselor saying, you're being mean here. And if they don't have that, the timeout's sort of like, well, you might as well have a Mai Tai and sit by the pool for 7 months. Nothing really happened inside.
Well, that's really what happened. Yeah. We did have a counselor. We went to a counselor 3 sessions over Zoom. And unfortunately, the counselor just didn't get it. And the counselor kind of shut me down. So, like, literally said to me, you talk too much. And I was like in shock. I'm like, well, isn't that what I'm supposed to do here? Let you know my side of the story? And he was very oddly abrupt and just like, well, you two just need to be nice to each other. And I'm like,
oh, isn't that helpful at $200 an hour?
Yeah, I laughed, and it actually made us both laugh. And I'm like, okay, like we don't know that.
Right. All right, Diane,
Yeah.
let me give you the game plan. You've done a lot of things that you should have done, and bully for you. You're not a bully. Bully for you, right?
No.
Well, I need for you to put some other things in the mix.
Okay.
If he's acting like that, I would probably say, need you to leave again.
I did. And he said no.
All right, then you say, well, I mean, you can see an attorney and say, well, who goes? And somebody's going to decide that. Or you can just say, I'll go. And that depends on your situation. Some people say, I don't mind going. And some people say, there's a lot I want to stay for. Then you go into a legal separation. But my point is, he's got to be away from you and not have access to you. Whether you're in the home or he's in the home, he cannot have access to you. That's part one, but not the only part, because he can still have a Mai Tai and a swimming pool. So far, so good?
Yeah.
All right. The other piece I'm putting into your system, which you didn't have the first time around, was that you said, well, he was nice after living with his brother for 7 months. So I was hopeful, but you were inside, you're in the system. You're not that objective person outside the system. So you made the decision based on kind of your own crazy brain, because when we're like traumatized, we have crazy brain. So the next time it's
you know
what?
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I did, because I was so upset over the separation and so much into my own emotion that I just wanted the normal to come back.
Right. So you let good judgment go out the window because you're inside your own head. It's just a real normal thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're putting the second part. Go ahead.
I'm beating myself up over it because I feel like that was a huge problem, that I had an opportunity to allow the right thing to happen, and I caved under it.
You know what the Bible says when we beat ourselves up?
Not very nice.
Well, it means you got to know that if you love Jesus, you're in grace and he's not mad at you, and you got friends that aren't mad at you. So get yourself
I know
up.
that. Yeah.
So don't keep beating yourself up on this, because then you still can't be rational. You don't.
Yeah.
Just made a mistake. Now let me finish.
Yeah. Okay.
The other piece is, then you say, I don't know what his name is, Hiram. Hiram, I'd like to keep going with you with somebody that we both think is a good therapist. I don't want to go back to the other one. And and we need to see him weekly, not every month or whenever you're not busy. It's got to be weekly. It's got to be weekly, if not more. Got to be weekly. And Zoom or, whatever. In your case, I would insist on face-to-face. I mean, unless you live in a developing country and have no other access, well, goodness gracious, situation you're in. And then what you say is, hold on, let me finish. And then the key is where you say, and we don't cohabitate again until this person that knows both of us says it's safe to try it for a month or two. I'm not going to go back until that licensed person says, Hiram, you're kind of getting that when you explode your herder, we finally got to the roots of why you do it. You're seeing why you do that, and you're changing in the session in the office. I'm seeing the office. I think I'll give you permission to live with Diane for a month, and let's see. And Diane, are you okay with that? And you say, no, he's still scary. Then you go, we don't do it yet, but he is the quarterback, and you put that decision on the licensed person's head, and then you tell your husband, that's the deal.
Okay. I had a feeling you were going to say that. I feel like that is the right thing to do, which is why I had asked him to go back to his brothers again. I was not prepared to hear no. And for me, I'm older and I'm disabled, so it's not really good for me to go at this point. And my older son lives with me, and he helps me a lot with a lot of things that I don't normally get help with.
Can your older son stand up to him?
Yeah, but it won't go well. Because
I'm going to have to go in a minute, Diane, but let me tell you, I understand if you're disabled and you can't move, that's just a reality. Then that means either, and you can make this decision with, the people you care about. It's one or two things. One's going to be, then you go to an attorney and say, I don't want to divorce him. I want a legal separation. And the attorney figures out, maybe with the police, that he goes. So you get the governing bodies around you to make decision, or you and your son decide, I've got this half of the house, he's got this half, and I will never have any contact with him until, the conditions happen. You must be away. He cannot have access to you because he needs you for some reason. He loves you, or you're a warm person, or he likes your sense of humor. Who knows? He cannot have access to you. So if you bifurcate the house and the bathrooms and bedrooms and kitchens over here, some people do it that way when they don't have the opportunity to get out of the house. But think about that.
Okay, that I did think about that. I was thinking about that, thinking if that would help me, because it's hard to be around them when we're not.
Exactly. A, it's hard to be around him, and B, he should not be around you, because then he gets what he wants, which is more time with Diane. He hasn't earned it. So that's what I got it. All right, Diane, hang in there.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Oh, goodness. you gotta have a short leash with out of control, unrepentant behavior. You just can't give them a million chances,
That's
because they'll
right.
take a million chances.
Difficult, very difficult.
Very difficult.
Caller, you are live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead and tell us your first name and where you're calling us from. Oh, Carrie, I think is her first name. Are you with us? Maybe you've got your mute on. Okay, maybe she will try us back.
See you, Carrie. Come back.
All right, next up. Let's see here. Okay, caller, you are live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead and tell us your first name and where you're calling us from.
Darla, I'm calling from San Antonio, Texas.
Hi, darling.
Hi. Is there an echo?
I'm going to count to 5 and you tell me. Do you hear it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yes, sir.
Stacy, has she got more devices on?
Possibly. We don't hear an echo on our end, but if you hear an echo on your end, it might be that you have 2 devices going. Maybe you've got it going on your computer and on your phone or something.
Okay, I think I fixed it. My apologies.
Okay.
I've been a big fan of Dr. Townsend and of course Dr. Cloud for a long time, many years. I studied your book in a group class at my church.
Which book?
Hiding from Love.
Oh gosh.
And then we studied Safe People.
Hmm.
And then Changes That Heal, of course, from Dr. Cloud, and Boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't for y'all's group teachings, I probably wouldn't even have a clue as how to handle people, especially people in church, like close functions. Mm-hmm. So I am just ever indebted to you for all that you've taught and are teaching, and so grateful. And if it wasn't for just learning what I did learn, I probably wouldn't be able to kind of forge ahead on new ministries, because I'm a Christian. Mm-hmm. And I decided to kind of counsel, like, of course, amateur counseling kids online. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing it for several years.
Okay,
and I try to tell them.
We're almost done with the show, Darla, so I need a question from you.
So how do I not invest hope in people that I'm trying to counsel? How do I kind of disconnect myself from hoping that they'll do really well and make good choices?
I heard a tremor in your voice right then when you said hoping they'll do well. Were you feeling something then?
Yeah.
It sounded like you were sad.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
I kind of am. I feel so sorry for this up and coming generation.
Right.
And just, there's so much information out there, but they pay attention to the not so good information. And those aren't the tools in life that will help you have good relationships and good families. But you and your organization do help people. And I try to share, what I've learned from you. And but people are more interested in, surfacey things.
I got you.
I guess
Carla, you're
Hello.
If you're with us, he froze. He'll be back in a moment, I think. There he is. Oh, okay. There you are,
okay.
JT. You froze for a minute, so go ahead and start over again. You froze right as you started to speak.
Who did, Darla or me?
You.
Oh, Darla, I would just say, and I call people like you and myself a growth monster, meaning very committed to growth. And like when Jesus said, blessed are you when you hunger and thirst for righteousness. You hunger and thirst for righteousness. I mean, you do the work, you want to help people, you read the books. So I get that. And compassion goes with that. So let me answer the question this way. When you say, well, how should I not have hope because it hurts too much. You should have hope, and it's going to hurt. And if you didn't have hope, there'd be no image in your head of where that kid can go and get off drugs or get off of craziness or acting out or depression or self-mutilation or whatever. If you didn't have hope, it wouldn't work, because let me say it this way, you've got to be the hope for them that they don't have. So that means that's what it costs you. Now, to preserve your own sanity, though, I want you to make a distinction between hope and need. You hope they'll get their lives straight. You hope that they'll get off of drugs. You hope they won't be depressed. You hope they won't have a panic disorder, but you don't need it. You need love and support from other people. You need to keep your training. You need to make sure your own self is cared about. And when you make that little break between I hope, but I don't need it because my life's okay and God's taking care of me and I got great friends, then you can tolerate it. But I don't know one counselor who's worth a damn who could say, yeah, when I show up, I don't hope anything for them. That's up to them. I would never refer to a person like that. So hope it, but don't need it. And that's the way it works, darling. I got to scram.
Thank you.
Keep up good work.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh.
That's so hard.
But think about the dedication she's put into, she got something. I mean, she got something good from love and books and people in her life, and she wants to give it back. But all of us that are in the helping space know what it feels like to have so much hope that you worry about people and you can't sleep and then you don't eat and then you're depressed. And they call that compassion fatigue, and it's a big thing. And so you hope it, but you go get a life and you don't need it. And that's really how it works.
That's true.
Guess that's it for us, right?
That is it. And we are on break the next 2 weeks, and we will be back with everyone on September the 28th. Same time, same place, same number.
And if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, American Association of Christian Counselors is a really good organization to come pop in on. There's going to be thousands of people there. They're in the Christian counseling world from all over the world. I'm speaking tomorrow night, and I'm doing a workshop on coaching on Friday. But you don't even have to be a therapist. You can just kind of be a person interested, and they're welcoming great people that are there. Daniel Amon's there. I'm there, a bunch of people. And they're worth checking out.
And we'll have a table from the Institute there also.
And the Townsend Institute will have a table there. I've been their clinical director for many, many years, and they do really good work. And so if that's kind of something you're interested in, either in the coaching area, because they have a coaching department that I'm involved with, or the counseling area, which I'm also in, it's really good. I highly recommend them. Dr. Tim Clinton is a friend of mine. He's been leading it for many years in a very, very good way. So something to think about. Anyway, but like Stacey said, we're out right now, but we're looking forward to seeing you guys when we get back. See you then.